So it's been 1 year now with the S5iix, and I've shot a wide range of projects on it. From short documentaries to client work, medium-sized productions, YouTube videos, even a low-budget TV show. This is a great camera for one-man band stuff all the way up to like medium-sized productions. I'm going to be talking about what I like, what I don't like, and why I'll be holding onto this camera for years to come. Alright, so if you're an OG to this channel, then you remember when I had the Canon C200, and I had that thing for like 6 years. It did everything I needed it to do, but toward the end of its life, I really wanted to downsize to a smaller form factor camera and just something that is like more modern and has more modernized features. And the reasons why I chose the S5iix is I chalked it up to open gate for social content, the small form factor, great stabilization. I could use it as a B cam on bigger size productions, and there's no other camera at that price point that ticked all of those boxes. Before I purchased any piece of gear, the amount of time I spent researching the thing, I was talking to a friend who owned it. I was messaging fellow YouTubers who also have the camera. I held off for months on purchasing this camera because I really wanted to make the right decision when I purchase any tool and spend like thousands of dollars. The things I like about this camera far outshine what I don't like about this camera, and coming from the Canon C200, like that thing was huge. So to have all these features in a tiny form factor is really what stands out to me. It's amazing how far we've come with cameras at this point, and it's really all about what you put in front of the lens at this point and not even so much about features anymore. I personally like that it's not in a cinema body because some of the work I do, I want to be discreet and run a gun. There are things I do really miss having, like internal NDs, but for example, if we take corduroy, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that project with a bigger camera body because I needed to be in tight places, and there was even some shots that I had to use it as like an action camera. Whereas if I did shoot it on a traditional cinema body with no autofocus, I would have needed a lot more resources in order to make that happen. I wanted a camera that was discreet and people would think it's just a regular stills camera. Meanwhile, it punches way above its weight class in terms of what it can do. Having this camera be versatile for me to be able to rig it for different scenarios is exactly what I was looking for. If I want to do more of a doc style shoot, I can add the audio module. If I want to do more of a traditional production, I can build it up with all the bells and whistles. There's projects that come up where the S5iix is simply just not suitable for it. I always approach every project asking myself, am I using the right tool for the job? There's a threshold with this camera, and I think on some productions I've exceeded it. And I think it's important to know what point that is for your camera gear, your lenses, your lights, and only purchase things when it's like 100% necessary. There's a few areas where this camera does fall a little bit short. Number one is the audio module. It makes the camera tall and it can only connect via the hot shoe, and I'm always scared I'm just gonna like break this connection, and you have to use a proprietary top handle if you do want to use it with a top handle, and that just like makes it unnecessarily tall. I shot a TV show in Ecuador with this setup, and we were running 2 channels of audio, and audio was just as important as the visuals, of course. With this rig, I tried to add my 702 touch to it, and I like to have my monitor on top of my top handle, and it just made the rig like way too tall, so I actually opted out to not use an external monitor, just use the onboard camera monitor. And I just wish this wasn't the case of how the audio module was set up. I wish they did something like the FX3 style handle. Number 2, the HDMI delay, which I think is like the biggest pitfall of this camera. Even going straight from the HDMI to an external monitor, there's a delay for some reason, and I usually use the Holyland Pyro system. So those two things together, having a first AC pull focus is just kind of impossible with this camera. When we were in pre-production for my short film, we were talking about what camera we should shoot it on, and we were talking about maybe shooting it on the S5iix. You know, it has the open gate, full frame anamorphic because we were using the Atlas Mercuries. We can't use this camera because the HDMI delay is absolutely horrendous, and our AC wouldn't have been able to pull focus properly. Number 3, the autofocus is kind of mid. I shot a fashion film last year on this camera, and we didn't have any budget for lenses or an AC, so we just opted to use my Sigma zooms, and the camera had a really hard time using a white cyc wall and trying to find focus for some reason. Even when you're filming a subject and their hands move in front of the camera like this, I find a lot of the time it could lock onto their hand, which can be kind of annoying sometimes. It simply comes down to the kind of productions that you do, and I always told myself I just want to own the perfect amount of stuff where I could do a sit-down interview with somebody and maybe like a small content shoot with a client, and anything bigger than that I could just rent the tools that I need. I think when you get into the mindset of I can only create this project if I have this light or this lens or this tool, that can be a slippery slope. Even right now, I've been selling myself the lie that I need a set of cinema lenses, and once I have those, I'll go out and shoot all these cool projects. But I'm not gonna stretch myself thin and do something that doesn't make financial sense because I just want a shiny new toy. I'm gonna continue using the tools that I have and focusing on the work because that's what I think truly matters. Like, I want you to take a hard look at your portfolio and ask yourself, when was the last time I shot a project that I'm super proud of? Like something that you could stand behind, show somebody that doesn't work in film and say, I created this thing. Because if you aren't able to do that, then I think buying more gear isn't what we should be spending our time and energy on. There's just way too many things that go into creating good work besides shooting on the best camera and lenses, like art direction, production design, hair, makeup, wardrobe, casting, a good story. All that kind of stuff will make your work truly stand out. I would way rather shoot on whatever I can get access to if that means more resources are spent in front of the camera. Constraints can actually be a good thing because it gives you a little bit of a sandbox to play within. And instead of thinking about all the things that you don't have, think about all the things that you do have access to and learn to lean into those things and learn to write your creative around that kind of stuff. That's how almost every single one of my projects came to life. I thought about all the things that I have access to and leaned into that stuff and just wrote my creative around that. And that's why I own my last camera for like 6 years, and probably why I'll own this one for many years to come. I find the time it takes to research a new camera, to sell your old one, to buy the new one, plus all the accessories you need on top of that, that is just such a time suck. I would way rather spend my time thinking about ideas that I can execute given the tools that I have and creating content for myself because I know that's what truly moves the needle. Too much emphasis is put on the camera these days. It's really about what's in front of the camera and the stories that you're trying to tell. So if you are itching to get a new piece of gear or you're watching this video because you're also an S5iix owner, I want you to reevaluate things. Look at your portfolio, ask yourself, is there any holes that I could fill that will help me get hired on other productions? Or is there a project that I've been thinking about doing for years? I think that's the direction we should be heading in as filmmakers.